So what we've done is we've broken down Unit 1 into two sections. We have Unit 1A, which is just the integer operations. Unit 1B is going to be our rational number operations. So we're just focusing on integers. Integers being the set of all positive and negative whole numbers, and it also includes the value 0. Okay, so here I give an example of what those positive and negative numbers look like in its numerical order. You'll notice that we have ... in the front and in the back as well. That just means that it continues in both directions, even though we don't have it written. Okay, so there's really a -5 and a -6 and a -7 that's going on further. Same thing with +5 and +6 and +7, so on and so forth. Now, smack dab in the center of our numbers is always the value 0. And 0 has a really unique feature to it. It's neither positive nor negative. It's a neutral value. Okay, it does not represent a positive number. It does not represent a negative number either. And then when we're taking a look at our positive and negative numbers, they are split in half by that 0. So all of our negative numbers are going to be located on the left side of 0. And, bless you, all the positive numbers are going to be located on the right side of 0. Okay, and a lot of this should be just basic review from what you did in 6th grade. Now, something else, how many of you may have recalled the term 0 pairs? You've heard of it. Maybe you don't remember it, but you at least recognize the words. 0 pairs. Did they talk about it last year at all? Yeah? Okay. So, first of all, what does a pair mean? If I say you have a pair of something, what value is that, Armand? 2. Okay, if we say you have a pair of something, you have 2. So when I'm talking in relation to these numbers, I'm saying I have 2 numbers that are going to create a 0 value. Okay, I'm going to have 2 numbers that are going to create a value of 0. So if I said, hey, I have the number 5, and I want to combine it, what operation do we use to combine numbers? What operation combines something together? Is it addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division? Addition. So I want to combine 5 with another number to create a 0. I want to create a 0. What number up here can I add to the value 5 in order to get 0? First of all, can I add a positive number to 5 and it be a 0? No. Okay, if I add a positive number, it's just going to make 5 even bigger. So I want to make 5 smaller, and I want to keep making 5 smaller until it gets to the 0. So that means I have to add it with a negative number. Which negative number up here can I add that'll make a 0? -5. Okay, so we call those opposites. They are direct opposites, and when you piece them together, they make what we call a 0 pair, because when we combine them together, it will equal 0. Okay, when you take any positive number and combine it with its exact opposite, it's going to create that 0 value. Now, it's also important to note that they have exactly the same absolute value. So I want to write that down too. 0 pairs have equal absolute values. And an absolute value is the distance it is from 0. So +5 is 5 units away from 0. If I were to go ahead and jump 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units away from 0. -5 is also 5 units away from 0. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So they have the exact same distance from 0, or absolute value. Now also keep in mind that when we are talking about negative values, a lot of kids get mistaken on how they identify which negative value is larger than the other. So an easy way to remember it is negative values are the opposite of positive values. So the way that you rank negative values is the opposite to how you would rank a positive value. If it's a positive value, we know the bigger base is the bigger number. But with negative values, the bigger base is the smaller number. Okay, so you want to have a small base to be a larger value than a large base when they're negatives. They have the opposite trend to positive numbers. Okay, so -2, 2 is smaller than 7, but the negative sign makes the 2 bigger than 7. So keeping that in mind, let's go ahead and identify some of our statements. We've got the less than statement, we've got a greater than statement, and we have an equal to statement. We're going to go ahead and identify whether these are less than, greater than, or equal to. So if I'm taking a look at -17 and I'm comparing it to -12, is -17 less than, greater than, or equal to -12? Less than. It's going to be less than. Okay, less than is going to have the arrow pointing to the left or to the lesser numbers. Okay, what about number 2? -5 compared to -10. What is that going to be, Brandon? -5 to -10. Greater than. See, here's where -5 is. -10 is going to be off over here. So -10 is further away from 0. 5 is closer to the 0. So it's kind of further up on the number line, right? So this is going to be greater than. Greater than, I'm going to highlight in my green. Okay, what about problem 3? We have -7 compared to -15. Greater than. Okay, so -7 is closer to the 0 than -15. -15 would be located somewhere off of my page. Okay, and then of course equal to would be something where it's like 5 and 5, or -2 and -2. You know, that would be the same values, but we don't have any of that right now. All right, so we're going to go ahead and order some of our numbers from least to greatest. That's what I want you guys to do right now on your own. For problems 1 and problems 2, you're going to take those numbers that are inside of this number set, and you're going to arrange them in order from least to greatest. From least to greatest. Go ahead and do that right now. From least to greatest for me. Okay, Noah? Uh-huh. Very good. All right, so -5, then -2. We always want to focus on our negative numbers first. So we only had 2 numbers that happen to be negative, and so the largest of those, or sorry, the smallest of those would be the -5. It's further down the number line. Then you'd have your -2. Then 0 is in the center. Notice I put 0 in blue. That's my neutral color. And then I can rank my positive numbers. So my positive numbers that we have next are 3 and 7. And we put those in order like we normally would. So 3 and then 7. Very good. All right. Who would like to do problem number 2? Go ahead.
-4, and -2, and -1, and then 0, and then 1, 3, and 5.
Very good. All right, same idea. Focus on your negative numbers first. Put those in order. Remember, the largest base is going to be written first down to the smallest base because that's how it ranks to get closest to 0. Your 0 would be in your center, and then you would rank your positive numbers. So now let's talk about our vocabulary. We do have a list of words that we can use that would represent negative values and positive values in real-world situations. So I'm going to go ahead and list off our negative terms that we see a lot in our word problems when we're going through those contextual problems inside of our class. So one of the words is less or lesser. Okay, that often indicates that we're dealing with a negative value, and it can even indicate that you're dealing with a subtraction problem. A lot of our negative terms can correlate with a subtraction operation for negative, and then a lot of our positive terms can also correlate with the operation of an addition sign. Okay, another word that we have is smaller. Okay, we've got the word below. And then let's say that I am in debt. What does that mean if I say I'm in debt? You owe, right? You owe money. I'm in debt. I owe somebody something. Okay, I want to buy a car or a house, or I want to go to college, but I don't have enough money to pay for it right now, so I tend to like to go to the bank and ask them for a what? A loan. Okay, they give me a loan, I have to pay it back eventually, but that means that I now again would owe money. Okay, also with the bank, if I have an account with the bank and I need to take money out of that account, what is that called? A withdrawal. Okay, when we withdraw money out of the bank, that means that we are taking it out. Okay, if you are in an airplane or a submarine and you are going downward, does anybody know what word that is? Start
Crashing.
kind of crashing. It's kind of like decrease. It's another D word, but it's descend. Descend.
I still bet they show it.
Okay, so when a plane descends, so if you've ever been in a plane, the pilot will come on when they're getting ready to land. They said, we're starting our descent. Okay, so that means that they are starting to come down towards Earth or towards the ground. Okay, and then we've also got some other D value words. So we've got decrease, and we also have drop. Okay, drop, dive, fall, they all kind of represent the same terminology. A drop, a dive, a fall. Okay, so now based off of these select words that I've given to you, I want you to tell me what would the opposite be? What would the positive version be for lesser? Sammy? Greater. Okay, or more. If you could say more, less and more. Those would be the same. What about smaller? What's the opposite for smaller? Nahat? Bigger. Okay, below.
We are in school.
Jaden, since you're in school, what's the opposite of below?
Above.
Thank you. All right. What's the opposite of owing somebody money? You're being given money, right? So you're receiving that money. You're earning the money. So instead of you owing money, you are earning money. So there's different ways you could put it. You could put earn, you could put receive. You're being given. Okay? A loan means you didn't have any money, so you had to borrow it from the bank. But if you do have money, what do you do with that money? Yeah, a lot of people like to spend it. But if you don't intend to spend it, you want to keep earning off of it, you would put it back into the bank, but you put it into a certain account, a savings account. There you go. So instead of having to be loaned money, you've now have a savings account. Okay, instead of withdrawing money, you deposit. Good. All right. The opposite of descend is to ascend. Good. See, a lot of people forget about the word descend, but the minute we say descend, then they remember the opposite. And the opposite of decrease? Increase. And then the opposite of dropping or diving or falling? Rising. Good. right, so once you get those down, go ahead and flip your paper on over to the next. So on the next section, I give you guys a list of different situations or scenarios, and I want you to do, you are going to identify whether we're talking about a positive, and if it happens to be a positive, then you don't have to write the word positive. You can just put a plus sign with the number. Ooh, that didn't show up very well when I write with it. You could put a plus sign and then the number. So like you could put a positive sign, a plus sign, and 28, whatever the number is going to be. If it happens to be a negative situation, then you can just go ahead and put a negative sign, a minus sign, and then the number. And then if it happens to be 0, then you would just write the word 0 or, the number 0. Okay? Go ahead and take a couple minutes to do those 9 problems. Okay, so for problem number 1, we have gain of 6 pounds. A gain of 6 pounds. Jada? Plus? Yeah, plus 6. Positive 6. Okay, so we have a positive 6 for that one. What about a loss of 10 yards? A loss of 10 yards. Addison? Negative 10. Okay, so we're going to put a minus 10 or a negative 10. What about 1,000 meters above sea level? 1,000 meters above sea level. Jean-Carlos? Plus 1,000 or positive 1,000. You owe $50. You're going to owe $50. Nahat? Negative. So we have negative 50. All right, ground level. When we say something's at ground level, what is that going to be, Noah? 0. Okay, so that is going to be smack dab in the center of everything. All right, 17 degrees below 0 is going to represent what kind of value? Brandon? Negative. Yeah, negative 17. If you're at sea level, we're at sea level, what is that going to represent? Sammy? Sea level. What was sea level represent? 0. Okay, and then if we're depositing $142, deposit 142, Armand, what do you think? When we deposit 142, is it positive, negative, or 0? If you deposit $142, is that positive, negative, or 0? Look at your vocab words. Deposit. Positive. You got to look at your words. Okay, and then if we are descending, if we are going to descend 2,500 feet, what is that going to be, Jada? Negative. Descend is negative. Okay. Hey, Coven. Go ahead and take one of these pockets right here. Yeah. All right. So then at the very last bit, talking about absolute value. So absolute value is always going to be a positive. Absolute value is always going to be positive. It is the distance that our number is from 0. The distance that a number is from 0. So one of the things that we do want to make sure of when we're talking about the distance from 0 and absolute value is that you know that you need to treat. Yes, dear. Do you have a question? No? Okay. Shh, Jada. Shh. We need to treat absolute value like parentheses. That means that when you're working out a problem and you've got more than just the absolute value in there, you've got some operations, some adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, things like that, then absolute value is going to be treated like parentheses. So that means you would work those values out first. You would work whatever's inside of it first and then do the absolute value. So absolute value is going to be just like parentheses. You need to make sure you are working it out first before you take the absolute value. And again, just remember that when you do perform your absolute value, it is always going to be a positive that it turns into. Okay, so if we're taking absolute value of 4, the absolute value is just 4. Okay, that means it is 4 units away from 0. So the absolute value of positive 4 remains positive 4. The absolute value of negative 30 now becomes what? 30. Positive 30. The absolute value of negative 4 is 4. Okay, now we get down to these problems where, again, we have more than just the absolute value involved. So we want to treat it like a parentheses problem, where we do the absolute value first, before we do the rest of the problem. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take the absolute value of this negative 3. What's the absolute value of negative 3? 3. Okay, stop talking. So the absolute value of negative 3 is positive 3. Then we're going to bring down the rest of the problem. So we're still going to have minus 5. So now we're going to do 3 minus 5. So what this kind of acts like is I have $3 in my pocket, but I owe, Jada $5. Can I pay Jada back all her money?
No.
No. What can I pay her back? I can only pay her back $3. So I still owe her money. How much do I still owe her? Well, I owed her 5. I gave her 3. I still owe her $2. So 3 minus the 5. I have $3. I owe her 5. I can give her back that 3. I still owe her $2. So 3 minus 5 is a negative 2. And then we're done. Okay, same thing for problem number 5. We have a negative on the outside, and then we have an absolute value of negative 15. So we have to do this absolute value first. We have to take the absolute value of negative 15, which is positive 15. And then we're going to bring the negative sign down. Now that negative sign being outside of it, it doesn't have a number attached to it. But there's always an invisible number that exists. Anybody know what invisible number it would be? What do you think? Not a 0, because 0 changes things. What number doesn't change things, Armand? You're holding it up, a 1. So this is like an invisible negative 1 that's in front of it. Now, if it's in front of it, it means it's being multiplied by it. So now we're multiplying numbers. Who remembers, back from 6th grade, you guys learned about multiplying positive and negatives. If you take a negative number and multiply it by a positive number, what kind of integer do you get? A negative. A negative times a positive gives you a negative. Okay? So we are going to have a negative value of 15. All right, now let's take a look at problem number 6. Problem number 6, again, we have an absolute value here, but there's a problem inside of the absolute value. So I have to actually work that out, because remember, you can only take an absolute value if it's a single number. This is not a single number, this is an operation. So we need to do 4 minus 7 first before we can actually do the absolute value. So I know I'm still going to have absolute values here, but what is 4 minus 7 going to give? Negative 3, right? You have $4, but you owe someone 7. That's going to mean that you still owe $3. 4 minus 7 is negative 3. So now we have absolute value of negative 3, and we still have plus 9. Okay, we can do our absolute value now. What is the absolute value of negative 3? 3, right? It's a positive 3. And then we've got 3 plus 9. Patrick, what's 3 plus 9 going to get us? You're not Patrick. It's okay. He's looking at it. He's like, I was going to say that. Patrick, what is it? 12. There you go. So we get 12 for our answer. So again, you use those absolute values almost like they're parentheses. You're going to work that portion out first before you can work out the rest of the problem. Okay, loaded into Google Classroom are the 3 skills. Now reminders, you only need to go to a SMART score of a 70. Everybody know what I mean by SMART score? Okay, in case you don't, let me pull up a skill for you real quick. I'm going to